My dear children, welcome to yet another video of English literature. So this is the second video of your first chapter and Pratik sir welcomes you. Now do you remember the name of the first chapter, my dear children? What was the name of the first chapter? Remember I sang a Christmas carol to start the chapter? That was a very famous Christmas carol, and thereby it's very obvious that the name of our first chapter is A Merry Christmas. So as you all know, 25th of December is celebrated as Christmas every year because we felicitate that day as the birth of the Savior, Christ the Redeemer, right? This video will target at sharing some of the answers to the questions that you have at the back of your text. So I'll be discussing some of the question answers with you. But before we do that, it's very important to have a recap. Fine. So do you remember the information that was shared with us by the author in this particular story? How many girls were there? 4 girls. Fantastic. There were 4 sisters and their names were Jo, Meg, Amy and Beth. What was the name of their mother, my dear children? Mrs. March. Yes, right? It's very easy to remember. It's the name of a month, March. There was another lady in that family. Who was that lady, my dear children? Hannah. Who was Hannah? Hannah was the maid servant, right? She was more than a maid servant and she was actually like a family member to this family because she had been with that family for a considerable amount of time. And what about the father? What about Mr. March? Was he there with the family on Christmas? No. Right. Where was he, my dear children? Why is he not there in the story? Or why is he not there with the March family on the day of Christmas? Because duty comes first, my dear children. For a person who's serving the nation, duty comes first, not festivities. Mr. March was a soldier in the US Army and he was on war duty because back then there was a civil war which was raging in the country. And where did this family used to stay? Do you remember the name of that place? Boston, Massachusetts. Fantastic. What information do we have about this place in the story? Perfect. We have been informed by the author that Massachusetts in US had very extremely cold winters. Okay, freezing winters. Great. And we are also told about a family which used to stay next door of the March family. How was the condition of that family, my dear children? Do you remember? Yes, there was an ailing mother. That is, the mother wasn't well. And there were 6 children, okay, who were unfed. And they were starving. Besides, they didn't even have money to buy wood to burn fire. Why is burning fire so important? Because it was so cold back then. When a fire burns in the fireplace, it helps control or regulate your body temperature. But that wasn't happening for this family because this family was a very poor family. When the girls get up, they discover books as presents, Christmas presents. Remember that? Yes. And Hannah tells them that their mom went out for some work and she would be coming back immediately thereafter. Meanwhile, Hannah also requested the girls to prepare the Christmas presents, right? And bake a cake probably for their mom. Their mom comes at a time when the kids are all preparing for having their Christmas breakfast because they were very hungry. But when the mother comes, the mother tells the kids to share the Christmas breakfast with the family next door. Initially, the girls were a bit reluctant, but then Joe agreed impetuously, immediately, and they carried lot of eatables, and then they went and shared all of that with the kids in the poor family, thereby giving us a very important moral lesson to share your happiness and resources with poor people or with not so blessed people or not so privileged people on the day of festivities. In that way, you serve God the best. So when they reached the house of the poor family, they were addressed as angels sent by God. And why not? You know, when I go through this chapter, I remember Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa came to India and served the poor people in our country. Although she wasn't from India, she was a foreigner, but she had a deep connection, with India, and she spent her entire life helping the community to revive, right? So Hannah also went with this family, with the girls, to the poor family, and Hannah burned fire to keep them warm, right? Because there was no fire even. And Mrs. March served some hot tea to this poor lady, who was the mother of those poor children. And all the children, including these girls and those poor little ones, they sat together around the fire and they had breakfast. So that was a very memorable day for them, right? And they found that the biggest gift that you can actually get in life is not anything materialistic, okay? The biggest thing is to get appreciated for good work. And so they learned this lesson at large. And later they came back home with their hearts filled with delight, and they thanked their mom for giving them this opportunity to help these kids, and they also gave some gifts to their mom, right? That is how the chapter ended. Now let's go to the question answers. Children, let me tell you that in another 5 years you are going to write your board exams, and Pratik sir wants you to be prepared for the CBSE board exams, right? So when it comes to literature, it's all about memory. It's all about how much you can remember from the story and put down as answers. If you wish to write your own points, that won't work in literature. It's good if you write an essay, probably in grammar, when you are writing composition or a letter writing or report writing, where you can bring your own ideas and concepts. But in literature, although you can write the answers in your own words, but you cannot bring in your own concepts, right? So remembering those information shared by the author is very important. Here in this book, you have got 3 kinds of questions. First one is your short answer questions, which can be written easily by remembering the information which has been presented in the text. Second one tests your application of knowledge. So they might give you an excerpt or a passage or even one line from your text. Based on that particular line, they might ask you a few questions. That's called application-based questions, concept-based questions. And the third one is totally abstract. It's what you think, okay? That's called think and answer questions. A, B, C. So you have all these 3 types covered. I have written down the answers for you to study. These notes will be shared with you once you watch this video today. And you will need to read the chapter and these question answers thoroughly, because in another few days you are going to have your first unit test, right, children? Fine. So let's get started. First question. What Christmas presents did the 4 girls get from their mother? Each of the 4 girls received a book each, right? So 1 book per girl. Joe got a book wrapped in a red cover, whereas, you can write, whereas Meg got a book wrapped in green, Amy got a book wrapped in blue. Oh, it gets so mundane and boring. So there is a way of writing this, okay? Whenever you have got information, right, you can actually use the word respectively. Watch out carefully. Each of the 4 girls received a book each, full stop. Joe got a book wrapped in a red cover, whereas, now I'm comparing, contrasting, whereas Meg, Amy and Beth found same books wrapped in green, blue and dove colors respectively. My dear children, this is a word which I want you to learn right now. Okay, so I could see, it's like when you say Meg, Amy, Beth, green, blue, dove, and use the word respectively, it's like match the following. Okay, that means Meg got a book wrapped in green, Amy got a book wrapped in blue, and Beth got a book which was wrapped in dove color. So while you get the answers, which I sent to you, please read it very carefully. What piece of advice did Meg give to her sisters? Meg advised her sisters to value the books and read 1 page daily, because reading is such a good habit. Third question. Where did Marmee, Marmee means mummy, go on Christmas morning? Marmee visited their poor neighbors on Christmas morning. The family was so poor, that is the family which she visited, that they couldn't afford to buy wood to light a fire even. Fourth question. What did Marmee ask the girls to do on Christmas morning? Marmee requested the girls to share their Christmas breakfast with their poor neighbors. Fifth question. How did Marmee and her daughters help the poor family? See, this is basic information question. Okay, so the more you remember, it's easier for you to write. Excuse me. While Hannah lit the fire, Mrs. March served tea to the sick mother. The girls arranged the dining table and made the poor children sit round the fire and fed them. Easy? Great. Now you have your homework. The 6th question of part A is your homework. What presents did the girls give to Marmee on Christmas? Now if you have watched my video closely, I did share this information, okay? It's there in your book even. So it's there on page 6. If you wish to find the answer, it's there on page 6, last paragraph, when the story actually ends. Great. Now let us flip to the part B. So these are the questions which are context-based questions, right? So they have, as I said, they are going to give you a line from your text and then you are supposed to interpret it. I'm so glad you came before we began. So this is a word which has been taken from the story. First question. Who said this to whom? This is actually on page 4. So if you read the story, you will find this line in page 4. Joe said this to Marmee. Okay, so Joe said this to Mrs. March. What did she say? I'm so glad, Mom, you came before we began. What was the speaker talking about? Means what was Joe talking about? The speaker was talking about the breakfast which her mother asked her to share with the poor neighbors. If Mommy hadn't come early, they would have finished it, isn't it? So she was actually talking about the breakfast. She said, Mom, you came at the right time, else that breakfast would have already gone in our tummies. Why was the speaker so glad? The speaker was so glad because they still had the breakfast untouched. So it was still there, packed, okay? They didn't open it. Else, if they had eaten, then they wouldn't be in a position to share it, right, with the poor kids. That is why the speaker was very happy. She said, oh, thank God, we still have the breakfast with us. Ach, mein Gott. Ach, mein Gott. It is good angels come to us. Remember that German phrase? Who said this? The mother of the poor children said this. Who were the good angels here? The good angels were the 4 daughters, okay? So it was Jo, Meg, Amy and Beth. And of course, all this good work was inspired by Mrs. March. And Hannah also helped the family, Great. Why did the speaker call them angels? The speaker called them angels for their act of humanity in sharing food and concern with the poor family on the day of Christmas. Ach, my Gott. What language is this? It's German. And it means, oh my God, when translated in English. Fantastic. Now, there are 3 questions in part C, that is think and answer. So, I have done one for you. The other 2, I've left it on to you to do as homework. But I'll discuss with you. That's loving our neighbor. Love thy neighbor. Okay, so there are 2 lines which have been taken from the text. What does these lines mean? First question. Why should you be friendly with neighbors? Love thy neighbor means to love your neighbor. So it's actually English which was used during the Roman times, okay? They used to use thy, T-H-Y. Thy means your. Love your neighbor, love thy neighbor. And second question is, why is it important to love your neighbor? It's important for the following reasons. Now, either you can write your answers as paragraphs, or in CBS you can save your time and resources and write it as bullet points. Now, have you worked in Microsoft PowerPoint, my dear children? Have you made any presentations, or have you ever seen your parents making presentations? Do you know how they make presentations? They just write the important points, okay, as bullets. So when you read my answer, when I share it with you, you will see I have written this answer in bullets because there are some points, okay? So instead of writing paragraph, I can even write it as points. It's important for the following reasons. To behave friendly with the neighbors is very important for the following reasons. First, to maintain bonhomie. Now this is a new word which I have introduced because I love playing with words. You know that. Bonhomie, B-O-N-H-O-M-I-E. Bonhomie means friendliness, okay? Good relationship in the society, okay? Second, if you help, they'll stand by you when you need, right? Third, they provide safety and security in your environment. How does that happen? Say, for example, in case if you ever go for a vacation, right? So you lock your house. What's the guarantee that there won't be a theft? But yes, if you have a neighbor next door, nobody will dare to break into your house, right? So when you are not there, your neighbors actually protect your house. So that is why they provide safety in the environment. And the fourth one is your neighbors could help you in your career or business networking. Say, for example, if in your neighborhood, I don't know if you have it, if in your neighborhood you have an elder brother, okay, who's probably a pilot. So when you talk to him, he might give you a lot of inputs on the life of a pilot or having a career in the aviation industry, right? Besides, if you want to start your own business, right, that could be a fast food joint, who knows? You could have a food truck, right? So the first information that you share is with your neighbor because they are people next door. So in case if there is somebody, who's like the age of your dad, it could be your uncle. So you say, uncle, I'm starting a new business. So I wanted just to have your inputs and blessings. So it always works. So neighbors are actually extended family members, right? So these are my points, okay? In case if you have got some other points, you can always add and make the answer very interesting. Second question was, they were hungry, but still they gave up. What would you have done in case if this thing ever happened in your life? And you need to give reasons for that. So you can say, I would have done the same. Why? Because it's always a very noble act to share your resources with the poor, especially on the day of festivities, right? So you can give 2 points on this. Third question, The story is about helping your family on Christmas. Share your experiences of how you help your family members on the day of Christmas. So you could say that we clean the house in the morning, or maybe we decorate the Christmas tree. So I help my mom decorate Christmas tree, or maybe I help my sister bake the Christmas cake. Right? These are all experiences, my dear children, and I want you to write these answers yourself and submit it in 2 days time. Okay, so today is 15th. You need to submit these 3 answers. Okay, so 1 question in part A and 2 questions in part C on 16th. So that's tomorrow. And where do you need to submit it? You are supposed to write this in your classwork. Make it fair and submit it by taking a screenshot of your answers in your school email ID. Having said that, my dear children, our first chapter is complete, and I wish you all the best for your first unit test. Here is Pratik sir signing off for now. Take care. God bless you.